uh, Sirs, my dear friends, I want to first begin by expressing my deep gratitude to Narendra Modi. He has brought so many friends together. And as a return favor, I want to read him a couplet which Kuldeep Nair will tell us who it is by. कि तुझसे पहले जो यहाँ तख्त नशी था, he who was occupying this throne before you, तुझसे पहले जो यहाँ तख्त नशी था, उसको भी अपने खुदा होने का उतना ही यकीन था. And as that is from a Pakistani poet, I better sort of protect myself by reading from the Granth Sahib. Ram gayo, Ravan gayo, jaake bahu parivar. Ye bhi jayenge. So we must have that confidence, and as there is no fact that needs to be added, no point in law needs to be added after the person who has been the shield of freedom in India, Mr. Fali Nariman, has given us such a good exposition. I will address the question which Nihal Singh Saab proposed. The question is, what should we do? And as which Mr. Kuldeep Nair said that it was not necessary to answer this question at the time of the emergency. But the fact of the matter is that every generation is taught the lesson of freedom. So this time, once again, that lesson has begun. The first thing we must do is to recognize that a new phase has begun. Because thus far, the government was using two instruments. One was to stuff the mouths of the media with the bribe of advertisements. It is said in Zulu, there is a Zulu proverb, that a dog with a bone in his mouth can't bark. So they were converting the media into a dog with the advertisements in its mouth that cannot bark at them. And the second point was that they were controlling and managing the media by the subterranean spreading of fear. अरे तुम जानते नहीं हो, मोदी सब सुन रहा है, उसके पास सारी टीम है, ये है वो है, अमित शाह सीबीआई को कंट्रोल करता है, कल तुम्हारे पर ये होगा. अरे यार ये हो गया है, फिर भी आदमी जिंदा है, फिर भी चैनल चल रही है. So you must see that now they have got what they could from those two instruments. So now they are using the third instrument, which is overt pressure. And they have made NDTV an example of that. And this will intensify in the coming months. I believe this will intensify. One, because of the nature of the regime. The nature of the regime is, its genes are totalitarian. What does totalitarian mean? Total domination. In the entire geography of India, in every sphere of life, in all fora, they must dominate. So they are extending it step by step if you look at the pattern. The second is that the gap between what they claim in their advertisements and speeches and what the people are feeling on the ground in their lives, whether you are a farmer or a person who's losing his job, that is so wide already. But that will become wider in the next 2 years as investment doesn't revive and so on, other things happen. And for that reason, they will then take to not just managing but suppressing voices of dissent. So that's the first thing to realize. The second is that we must proceed with the full faith that, as Mr. Nariman reminded us, as Kuldeep has demonstrated with his own life, throughout his life, that anybody in India who has raised his hand against the press, against the media, has had that hand burnt and has had to withdraw it. Jagannath Mishra's press bill, Rajiv Gandhi's bill, Mrs. Gandhi taking over and the Indian Express, removing Ramnaji and putting a pseudo board there. Everybody who raised a hand against the media had their head burnt and had to withdraw. Dua was just reminding us that at the time of defamation bill we had a meeting here, but I tell you, you and I both know we did not have this many persons at that time as we have today. The second point I would like to throw, the facts are clear. Nariman has put them out, NDTV has put them out, CBI is not able to answer those facts. Actually, there is a story on the wire today, I think, what has happened to the complaints that were filed by not just private individuals, but by the Directorate of Revenue Intelligence against two of the biggest houses for defrauding the country of 30,000 crores and causing a loss to the exchequer, and how the CBI has not acted on that. So the facts are irrefutable, but I want to suggest something else. This is not the time to sit in judgment on each other. I say this from the experience of my personal life. When you have to serve, your service must be absolutely non-judgmental, because the mind suggests so many reasons as to why I need not help him. अरे यार वो cigarette सारी उम्र पीता था, अब उसको कैंसर होना ही है, now let him suffer. No, that's not the time to sit in judgment. You must go to the support and help and assistance and service of your friend, because they will try to divide the press by insinuating such things, and they will use you, they will use the existing media to defame the rest of the media. So please do not become instruments in that. Second thing is, stand by each other, because I can assure you that nothing demoralizes persons as much as the fact that their peers have not stood by them. I have seen this in civil service, among civil servants, when in the last regime inquiries were, 3 CBI inquiries were instituted against decisions that were taken under me by the civil servants. And I had told the CBI that, I wrote to them that they are not responsible for anything, I am the one who took those decisions. But the fact that the rest of the civil service did not stand by those civil servants really demoralized them. So we must stand by each other in this. Fali Nariman quoted those very famous lines of a Lutheran pastor in Germany who opposed the sort of what Hitler called the coordination of churches. But there is an even 2,000-year-old thing from Rabbi Hillel, which says, if I am not for myself, who will be for me? If I am not for myself, if I don't fight for myself, who will be for me? If I am for myself alone, who am I? If not now, when? And I tell you, it is my grievance against my colleagues in the press that we have not been vigilant in this score. Last year, by accident, I happened to be called to Jaipur for a journalists' meet, and it was there I learned the harassment and financial loss which had been inflicted upon the Rajasthan Patrika. But as an average reader of New Delhi newspapers, of Delhi newspapers, I did not know of that at all. So we must be on the lookout for any attempt, not just to a very prominent person like Pronoy, but to any attempt anywhere in the country, because that is how fear is spread in those regions, and we must. And the reason for that is that governments watch reactions. You can be absolutely certain that the fact that so many journalists have gathered here is being watched by the government. And I can tell you, they are very sensitive even to the social media. एक पूरी टीम है उनकी, वो देखती है कि ट्विटर पर क्या चल रहा है, फेसबुक पर क्या चल रहा है. तो जब वो देखेंगे इतने लोग इकट्ठा हुए हैं, रवीश कुमार जैसे निडर लोग इकट्ठा हुए हैं, तो वो जानेंगे कि भाई उन्होंने एक गलत स्टेप लिया है, एंड they have to find ways to retreat it. But there is a way in which we help governments, because the easiest cop out for journalists is to tell what they call both sides of the story. रोना रॉय के पास आके पूछ लो, सर what are the facts? फिर जाकर CBI के पास पूछ लो, सर what are the facts? This business of neutrality, perfect neutrality between the man who sets fire and the firefighter, this is the way the governments will use you, so you must resist it. Sir, therefore, go beyond this and watch out for the least step which is taken to stop the free flow of free information. It is a very sad thing that we have not reacted as a community to the way the RTI is being choked. Rajkamal Jha of Indian Express was telling me they are doing excellent work. Kuldeep ji, Nihal Singh, both of them have been the editors there. Sir, they are doing excellent work on using the RTI to excavate information from the government. But Raj was saying that almost every request is turned down in the first round. And it is only at the appeal stage, which you have to persist for many months, that maybe you will get some distorted or some partial information. But we in the press are not broadcasting this fact. And yet that is one of the most precious rights which has been to this. So I would urge that any encroachment on the freedom of the flow of information, not just on the freedom of speech. Fali will remind us, Justice Bhagwati has said that I can speak only if I have information. So the freedom to acquire information, receive information, flows from the freedom of speech. Then I feel that we should, in the government is using the social media to spread lies and abuse against anyone it does not like. So some of you should counter that and be as active on the social media, because Modi has a whole team that in his Prime Minister's office, headed by a boy called Hiren Joshi, whom many of you would have encountered, whose only job is to watch social media and keep the Prime Minister informed. So he's sensitive to that. That's his weakness. And especially what is happening in foreign media. So inform foreign media of everything that is happening here. And secondly, use social media to inform the government that we also are watching what you are watching. One important point I want to make, because I have seen that in the last 3-4 years, many journalists have succumbed to this. And that is, never delude yourself into believing that a little concession will buy you peace. Many of you think that if you give prominence to the articles of some of these ministers, or if you give them airtime, they will help you in a crisis. अब मेरा दोस्त था वेंकैया नायडू, हमारे अपने पेपर में, इंडियन एक्सप्रेस में, उसके 3/4 of a page कुलदीप जी ने मुझे को नहीं दिए उतनी स्पेस. वो वेंकैया नायडू के आर्टिकल है. वो वेंकैया नायडू को आपको तीसरी क्लास की जो छोटी नोटबुक होती है वो दीजिए, and ask him to fill 1 page coherently on any random thing. मगर आप उसके आर्टिकल छापे जा रहे हो when you know that he cannot write. So because you think that by giving him that space, by giving that much airtime to these fellows, you are buying peace. No. In fact, when the assault comes on you, none of them will help. एक तो बात यह है कि भाई यहाँ तो कोई मिनिस्टर तो कोई है नहीं, सरकार ढाई आदमियों की सरकार है. तो ये बेचारे तो स्वामी अग्निवेश के वो जो बंधुआ मजदूर है, तो वो आपको हेल्प उस तरह नहीं कर सकते. But in fact what they will be doing is that if some one of them is a friend of Pranay Roy, he will be fearing that Modi will think I am a friend of Pranay Roy, so he said, dur raho. So don't think that you can buy peace by making some small concessions. Instead of buying peace with concessions, I would urge non-cooperation, boycott. सबने दुआ साहब ने हमें याद कराया defamation bill के बारे में. Sir, one of the most effective instruments we used at that time was that we, by just telephoning editors all over the country, we said, please do one thing. If a minister of Rajiv Gandhi's government comes to your city, in the press conference, first ask him, are you for or against the defamation bill? If he does not answer, or if he gives an ambiguous answer, or if he says yes, just get up and leave. This publicity, Margaret Thatcher said, publicity is the oxygen of terrorists, is the oxygen of these बंधुआ labor also. वो दिखाना चाहते हैं मोदी को कि साहब मैंने इतनी अच्छी तकरीर दी, मेरी इतनी coverage हुई, so just deny them that. Just boycott their press conferences. Never call to your meetings, never call to your functions somebody whom you would not call but for the fact that he is a minister. Just do that little bit of non-cooperation and see the effect. And I would think there is no country in the world in which official pronouncements are given as much space and prominence as in India. You should publish them as in the classified advertisement page. And instead you should republish what alt news, what SM Hoaxslayer, what Boom Fact Check, what these sites are excavating when they are comparing the claims of government with the facts and excavating them. Why leave it there? Today, papers republish the so-called tweets of Sharad Yadav, of Narendra Modi, of so and so. अरे उसमें क्या विजडम रखा है? उतनी ही स्पेस में आप बतलाइए कि ऑल्ट न्यूज ने आज क्या छापा है. उससे जो ट्रूथ है वो बाहर आएगा. Therefore, and by now you know their techniques. One of their techniques is that I'll just finish with just 3 more suggestions. One of their techniques is that if something inconvenient happens today, they say, start another story just now, so that people are diverted. So don't become instruments for distracting your viewers and your readers. Keep their focus on the main story. That is very important, that you don't do their work. Next point is redouble the work which is annoying the government. The best guarantee to you that you are on the right track is that the government is annoyed with what you are finding out. I think Arun Shourie used to have the slogan there, forget that news is what the government wants to hide. Everything else is propaganda. So you should excavate that. In the end, please remember that we have only 3 protections. One is our solidarity. Second is the courts. Therefore, give great prominence to every step by the government to undermine the judiciary. It is very necessary. And the third is the protection of our own readers and of our viewers. Therefore, even as I was saying, use Twitter and Facebook, but that is to inform the government. But do not become Twitter handles yourselves. You must go into the depth of facts on those issues which are of real life and death issues for the reader, so that when the hand is raised against you, the reader feels that the hand has been raised against him or her. And finally, I believe that not a year a year will not pass now that it will become almost impossible to acquire and disseminate information through normal mainstream channels or media. Therefore, it is very important that all of us turn to the youngsters who have mastery of hacking, of bypassing government censors, of using the internet creatively to acquire information and disseminate information. If the Chinese can bypass the Chinese state, then certainly we should be able to do it. With this, please make your contacts now and set up such groups of Indians here or Indians abroad to bypass the censorship of the government. And if finally they are able to control everything, don't despair. Because, as I said, firstly, everything passes, but the other fact is that when they control the media completely, then the people will see the great distance between what they are being made to swallow through the media and what is happening in their own lives. And this government, which worships cows, will be left holding dead cows. Thank you very much, and the best to you in your fight. Thank you.